Hey there, California Dreamers, and welcome to episode 4 of Paradise Pier. When we last left off, we had completed this whole back area here. Yeah, there's still some work to be done on some of these railings and stuff, but we got fairly far. We kind of cleaned up this area and added a lot more to this pier. Before we get going on this episode, I wanted to show you a little something that was developed to actually stop the train and make it launch. It's a trick that you can do with the Premier, this multi-launch coaster. I don't specifically remember how to do it now. It's been a while. I mean, it's been a few months, right? Yeah, if you mess with the launch settings, you can get it to do that. And you know, it takes a little bit of finagling because it doesn't, this coaster doesn't want to stop on its own and restart. It wants to shoot you forward or shoot you backwards, and that wasn't going to work. So if you mess with the settings a little bit, you can get it to actually stop on the track. But yeah, what are we going to work on today? I think we're good on the coaster for now. There's still a lot of work to be done. As you can see, all the supports are not finished. But I wanted to switch things up a little bit and check out this little lone carousel here. And if I was to criticize Paradise Pier, which I'm very good at, the carousel itself was actually really cool. The King Triton's carousel, the cover and the surrounding area and everything around it was just freaking awful. And I don't necessarily want to go the same route that they went with that like nautical swoop of metal poles. I can show you right now. I want to go more San Diego again. I want to get some more of that Spanish revival in here, and I'm not sure how I'm going to do it, but that is the goal today. So let's see what we can do. All right, so a little update here. I've got a dome started. I got a little concourse started here, and it adds. Honestly, guys, I'm not going to be great at this because Spanish Revival is a style that is incredibly decadent and filled with details, and really what I'm looking for is the basic shape. So I'm really trying to get a step down kind of look to it, but I'm not going to try and fill it with too many details. The details that do shine through are going to be really, really cool and evocative of the style. But I don't necessarily want to be as good as another little friend of mine, Remnant, who did he did a creation of like Balboa Park, which is where I'm getting a lot of my inspiration from. Balboa Park was a World Exposition location in the early 1900s, and they built this beautiful dream city out of all the Spanish Revival architecture, and it's still a landmark to this day, and it's gorgeous if you go there. The botanical garden is really cool by itself, and the reflecting pond outside, and they've kept it up really nicely. But that's kind of the idea here is what I'm going for. I also took another stab at the coaster design. I pushed back all of the lift and the drop, and it kind of widened everything and made it a little bit more spread out. And I also added this little thing where it hooks towards the left side, because that's what it actually does in the ride, and then it kind of drops in. So yeah, I'm still messing with the coaster. That's why I haven't really been doing any of the supporting. But I think at least for this turnaround, I could probably start some supports and get something cool going on there. I've got the queue kind of rotating around the ride. And then what I was going to add here is a really cool planter that kind of cuts into the queue a little bit, but also creates some separation. I'm also thinking that this would be a good place to switch from this pathing to a boardwalk texture, and actually get some wood in here to make it feel like it's floating instead of directly on top of land. Also, I've created some supports here. Very, 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 very preliminary. because this is going to take a long time to do. I don't have the connections in yet or anything like that, but you know, you get a little section of it and you're like, oh yeah, no, this could actually look pretty good. I like that. I will likely just have to do this in sections, maybe 20 minutes each every playthrough, and just do it that way, and try and eat this elephant without making myself go crazy, because that's what's gonna happen. All right, so I had to call in the big guns because I didn't exactly know how I was gonna do this dome, and I knew people that could do it better, and so I contacted Remnant, who did like I said, the Balboa Park project early. I think it was in alpha or something like that, a Planet Coaster, and he agreed to give it a shot. And when you look above, it creates a nice little sun motif. You know, kind of a simple geometric design, but I mean, just look at that. That's there's some people who are just better at things, and you just have to kind of accept that, and Remnant is one of those people. His projects are just freaking amazing. He's got Saunders Springs, which is his full park. He's also working on a collaboration with Kinderly and Mineral. We call them the Remkin team, and I don't even know what the park is or why they're building it, but it's a beautiful example of California deco. So I'm really happy that he was able to put this in, and here's the thing too, it didn't take him that long, which is entirely frustrating, because I tried to create a dome. I didn't actually show you any of the progress because I gave up in about an hour. No, he figured this out pretty damn quickly. So thank you, Remnant, and holy damn, that's really cool. I'm going to keep it very, very Californian. So I'm using these Joshua trees, and I'm using some of these sago palms to make this planter give you a little bit of protection. But the materials are very simple. It's all mostly greens, and I'm going to keep it to very simple colors. Maybe add some purples in for some of that purple sage. And some yellows just to play off a little bit of the gold going on in the top of the actual carousel. I've also started this little area too, which I wanted to kind of, I want you to drop down from what's going to be a very Victorian styled shop into a little bit more of this Spanish revival. I want to have a little taco cart or something, or maybe a churro cart. And I also wanted to introduce some of this kind of decoration. So I've got these bulbs strung across the palms like that, and then you've got these little sun icons to give it a little bit of flair, a little bit of fun. Back here is something that I'm gonna keep from the old Paradise Pier, which I believe there is a circular bathroom behind the carousel, and if you were to actually look up and figure this out in a map, my version has a plaza up here and then the coaster, but really the real version does this, where it kind of arcs down and then goes to this flat area, and then the carousel I believe is right here, and then there's a bathroom behind that. So, you know, relatively the same, except that all the queue for the coaster and the station would be over here. My coaster's not exactly in where it's supposed to be. I've seen other people do it better, but at this point, you know, I'm building for sightlines. I'm building for what looks best, because this doesn't exist, and so I'm just gonna have a little fun with it. But yeah, I'm gonna introduce those bathrooms, and the reason why I liked them is because they are unapologetically bad. It makes you feel like you're actually on a pier. And it's the only time that you really feel like you're on a pier is when you're heading into these bathrooms, because it closes off really tightly, and then you've got these really kind of cheapo things, like little lattices above your head. Everything is very flat and ugly, and I mean, it looks exactly like what you would see on a California pier. Not in a good way. It's definitely not stylized. It's not necessarily attractive, but I think we can class it up a little bit. I think it's gonna work. So here we are at the finish line of this episode. Quite a bit of change here. I was able to get some of this wooden boarding in and kind of bring it off to the side here. You know, make sure that I believe it lines up with the coaster. It might be a little bit off, but it looks pretty good. Connected the paths up, made them nice and big, completed the planter here. So like I said, I wanted to introduce a little bit more of those purple sages in there, and then keep the rest of the colors pretty predominantly golds and yellows. Because it plays off of reds. So the planter itself is more of this red stucco, and the blues are carried in the sages, then you got yellows, and so that creates a primary color scheme. Similar to the primary color scheme I've got in the trash cans, which is, it's a modified primary. It's not super pure. I think this landscape is actually more pure than the trash cans. But I also have this really cool built-in bench, and everything is lit up. Let me see if I can get it tonight. So yeah, you have some lights, and I've accomplished this by putting in some lighted signs and then a box light to kind of make it look like it's shining light on there. And oh my goodness, the carousel is all golden lit up. Like, if this was Paradise Pier, I don't think DCA would have had such a problem. Because it's just, what I really noticed when looking back on some of the old things is that the night light in this area was pretty atrocious. Not everything was lit up properly. It felt kind of intimidating. I don't believe at the time the coaster was lit up with all this aqua. Some of the lights, even on the strings, didn't work. Like, there was a lot. And bear in mind, this is the time before LED lighting and a lot of that consistency. When you had incandescents, they burned out pretty quickly. I mean, you'd only get a few hundred hours out of them. But yeah, no. The other big thing that I don't see in the old Paradise Pier is landscape. And my goodness, what a difference it makes when you add... there's not a whole lot here. If you take a look at the landscape here, there's a big planter, but it's mostly filled in with, very simple shapes, some drought-tolerant stuff. And then you've got this little triangle here, because I wanted to introduce a little bit more of the beach back, a little bit more of the sand. And it's mostly because I really didn't have an idea for this area. If I click it back to day, basically right here is where those restaurants or those service restaurants are going to be. Similar to the version that DCA actually was, or Paradise Pier was, except it's going to look a lot nicer. And then down here, there's going to be food stalls and some of the canopies that they installed later in the design process. But if they had just introduced a little bit more gardening and a little bit more landscape, I don't think Paradise Pier would feel as sterile as it was. Because this isn't a whole lot, but it's adding a lot to this design, and it's making it feel in the thematic period that it should be. And then probably my favorite area is the bathrooms. So you can see you've got a partition around the carousel, and I'm still working on a little bit of the queue in here, because it shouldn't just be this. There'll be some more things. But yeah, here is the bathroom, little corner, and that's where the actual facility is. And if you look down here and click it back to night, because that's really when this looks the best. All blue lighting on the foliage, it seems to accentuate the greens a lot better. Blue lighting on plants is kind of a theme park staple. You see it a lot. You see a lot of blue floods up in forest, and I think it just kind of replicates a more stylized moonlight. And I think that's why blue is always used. And then in this area, I've got a I've got the partitions on one side, and then I've got this little scene set up. I've got something a little bit more than what was actually in Paradise Pier. So you've got these little vignettes set up, all these little oceany vignettes, and they're very simple. It's just a clam with a pearl and some seaweed and stuff. And over here, you've got the one side of the bathroom and the other side of the bathroom, and you've got drinking fountains in the center. And on the other side, the vignettes are changed up a little bit. The clam is closed, and there's more of a rock arch here. Just very kind of simple things. And then you've got the lattices on top. The lights aren't so much that they are kind of blinding out the area. And the way I did that is I turned off all the lights, and I put in my own colorable area light, just because it can create a little bit more of an even glow. And in the day, you have a little bit of protection with the lattices on top, and you've got pretty cool shots of the coaster here too. You can see the loop, and this is the area where the coaster goes through its bunny section, and you're pretty much kind of in it at all times, which I really like about this area. So that does it for episode 4 of Paradise Pier. I hope you enjoyed it. It took a while to get here, but that is just kind of my style of design. It takes a while before I'm okay to actually kind of show it off. So if you liked what you saw, you know what to do. I may be slowing down a little bit as the Theme Maker's Toolkit starts coming out. We might be able to get another episode in before that happens, but once that tool releases, I am going to be firmly a foliage creator and see how much I can actually improve the flora of Planet Coaster. So with that, I'll leave it there, and I hope you join me next time for another episode of Paradise Pier. See you later, guys.